Hey folks, it's Aquifel with WWE Money in the Bank 2016. A short preview, as you know, I'll always do for the big pay-per-views that are coming up. And well, the first match will be, I think, one of the minor matches will be Apollo Crews versus Sheamus. And yeah, I've mentioned this before. I personally don't have that much of a problem with Sheamus. I think he's a capable competitor, but well, WWE's booking didn't help him in the past. The League of Nations, which apparently has split up, thank God, because that stable was just, the authorities' lackeys, and yeah, they didn't matter at all. They weren't a threat to anybody, really. So yeah, it didn't help Sheamus at all. And yeah, even if at the moment most of the crowd's reactions to him are "you look stupid," he still is a capable wrestler. And yeah, without the League of Nations, he might be able to get back some of his status. But yeah, well, I don't really know. In the past weeks, I got the feeling, he was either again injured or didn't matter at all. So yeah, good to see him back with a feud against Apollo Crews, a guy who was great in the Indies, was good in NXT, but yeah, well, since he came to the main roster, he more or less was in this B and C shows and didn't seem to matter at all. And it's sad to see that a guy like Apollo Crews is not used to his full potential. But now they have a feud against each other, and yeah, well, given how those two were built up in the past weeks, it's obvious that this match isn't the one on the card with the highest expectations, or the crowd is most looking forward to. The match itself, well, powerhouse against powerhouse, one with more of a mean streak, the other guy a little bit more explosive, but yeah, could be a great match, but I don't see that happening because the match will be a little bit too short for that. I give it 7-8 minutes tops because we have a lot of other more important matches on the card. And thus, maybe they can get some attention for themselves, but yeah, I don't see anything big happening here. The match will be okay, I think. And yeah, Apollo Crews needs to win because, at least win this feud, because if Apollo Crews doesn't get a win here sooner or later, they might as well could have kept him at NXT, because bringing him up to the main roster and burying him, that doesn't help anybody. Neither Sheamus nor Apollo Crews. Then we have Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler. A feud where they did everything wrong that they could have done wrong, because Ziggler loses, he's a glorified jobber, and against Apollo Crews in his first match he gets a decisive victory. In the second match, Baron Corbin, a guy who should dominate a guy like Ziggler, as much as I like Ziggler, wins more or less by a little bit of luck. And Corbin really dominates and destroys Ziggler here, or they might as well fire him or degrade him to an NXT guy, because if you have a guy like Baron Corbin, he needs to be a dominant, brutal heel, and if he can't do that and has to get some cheap shots in and roll up victories, you don't need a guy like Corbin. You can have that for the more sneaky Weasley guys who don't have the power to really brutalize the enemy or their opponent. So Corbin desperately needs to win here in a decisive manner. Otherwise, they killed his character, at least for now. And if he could recover from a blow like that, I don't know. The match itself, could be anything from a stinker to okay. Won't get too much time either, because more important matches. Well, speaking of more important matches, Becky Lynch and Natalya versus Charlotte and Dana Brooke isn't one of them. And WWE, I get why Charlotte and Dana Brooke work together. I get why Natalya and Becky Lynch work together, but in the end, what the fuck? In the end, there isn't much. Yeah, there isn't a great story behind this. The Charlotte and Natalya matches, of course, were interesting, but they dropped the ball with Natalya losing all of them in not quite satisfying manner. And the only character here that really stands out is Charlotte at the moment. And this tag team match, it doesn't mean squat. The title isn't on the line, and this is the kind of match you get if you have a card full of matches or an event with tons of matches. You have to get the divas or the women in there, but you don't really want them to do anything of big importance. So that's a great way of burying the Divas Revolution nobody speaks of now, because there hasn't been much of a revolution in the main roster thus far. This match won't be bad because the gals involved are talented, but it won't get the women's division very far, and it won't help anybody. Well, on to the United States title match between Rusev, the current champion, and Titus O'Neil. And Titus O'Neil, I got the feeling, was in the doghouse because he touched Mr. McMahon. You don't just touch Mr. McMahon. That's not what he's paid for. So Titus O'Neil, was in the doghouse. Now they want to bring him back. And he can be pretty entertaining. He's a decent powerhouse. But in the end, I think he's more cannon fodder for Rusev because, let's face it, Rusev is a guy who is good enough in the ring and versatile enough to really have great matches with, let's say, more important opponents. And Titus O'Neil isn't that important, and he never will be that important. You have to give Rusev somebody who he can wrestle in order to stay on the cards and have at least some attention on him and on the title. But a guy like Cena, he wrestles AJ Styles. A lot of higher profile guys are in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and you need some face to face Rusev, and at the moment, it has to be Titus O'Neil, but I don't expect any surprises here with Titus O'Neil winning the title, because where would that go? I think nowhere, because WWE, with the roster split on its way, needs strong title holders to get to draw attention to the respective brand. And I don't know. Maybe Rusev will end up on SmackDown with the United States title, and if the United States title, for example, goes to SmackDown, you need somebody who can have big matches for the title, and I don't see that happening with Titus O'Neil. So Rusev should win here. The match itself, it's more or less pre-show material like the other matches I've discussed this far. Thus far. So I don't expect greatness here. Could be anything from a total stinker to pretty decent. Depends on the time they get and the booking that's involved. Now onward to the more important and more interesting matches. First of all, the WWE Tag Team Title Fatal 4-Way match, which will be compared to the IWGP Junior Heavyweight 4-Way elimination match that's happening at New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion on the exact same date. So that will be interesting to see which one fares better with the crowd and with the experts. But still, the New Day have been champions a long time, and they're always entertaining. And I think there was the number one contender tournament that, we know how this ended. Enzo got injured, the Vaudevillains won. And didn't get much of a match afterwards against the New Day. I think Big Cass and Enzo were supposed to win this, but Obviously, they couldn't compete against the New Day, and now they want to do something more spectacular with the club being involved. And yeah, let's face it, the New Day's number should be up in the next 1 or 2 weeks, months or so, because they've been champion a long time. And we need some fresh guys. And yeah, I don't see the Vaudevillains winning here, because they're not over enough. Big Enzo and Cass, top faces, the crowd loves them. And yeah, of course, what they do with the crowd is rather predictable, but the crowd eats it up, so well, and I like them too, so it works. And the club being strong, badass heels, well, they of course would be interesting too. So I think this one will be either Big Cass and Enzo or the club, and it depends on how WWE wants to do this tag team title scene in the next months. Because if Big Cass and Enzo win, of course the next step would be a rematch against the New Day, which they should win, and maybe then the club going after the title. Or the club wins the thing, defeats the New Day again, and Big Cass and Enzo, go for the gold in the nearer future, which will be, in my opinion, a little bit more exciting and thrilling, because it's always nice to see faces chasing the gold rather than a face having to fend off stronger heels. So I go with the club here. And the match itself, well, Big Cass and Enzo as well as the New Day are pretty decent in the ring, or pretty good in the ring, and they're just loved by the crowd. The club, they're badass heels, and they're over with the crowd. And the Vaudevillains, they're very good wrestlers too. So in terms of quality and excitement for the crowd, this one should be really, really good. Well, on to AJ Styles versus John Cena. Probably the most anticipated match this evening, because they've really built this up quite well, and I don't say that often with WWE, because John Cena is back from injury, and he's been the top guy in WWE for, I don't know, since like 2005, 2006. He was one of the top guys, and later on became the top guy. And obviously, AJ Styles took an issue with that, said, hey, I've traveled the world, I've been successful everywhere I went, and if I had been in WWE, and I've wrestled as long as you have, and if I would have been in WWE at the time you became famous, I still would have been the face of WWE and not you. And it's interesting, because he might be right. Everywhere AJ Styles went, he was successful, and of course TNA doesn't matter that much. New Japan, he really, it really worked well for him, and not everybody would have expected that he fares as good in New Japan as he did, and he became even better in the ring, I think. So AJ Styles, obviously has the right to claim that. If I would have been there, I would have been the top guy. Well, if I was there, I would have been the top guy. And Cena, of course, you're like every other indie guy. Yeah, you have accomplished a lot in the indies. You have accomplished a lot in Japan, but damn, this still is the WWE, and well, you're just another indie guy. Many of them are great and good in the ring and have accomplished a lot, but in the WWE that doesn't mean that much. And you still have to prove that you're not just full of BS and talking big here. And Styles, of course, and with 39 years, it's obvious he won't be the face of the WWE for the next 10 years, but it's cool to see that Styles still has the fire in him, and that he really, brings that to the crowd, that they really believe him. He still has the fire to prove, as seasoned a veteran as he is, to prove to the world that he is the great one, the phenomenal one. And that's not all just big talk with him, but big actions too. And I'm really looking forward to this because in the ring, we all know AJ Styles how great he is. Cena doesn't always get as much credit as he deserves. Yes, he's a little bit limited. Yes, his selling isn't always the best, but in the end, in big matches, he almost always delivers. In the last few years, he has always delivered in the big matches. So this one should be great. This one should be really great, and hopefully WWE books it right. And I think Styles needs a win here because I don't think this is a one-time match. I think this is more or less the start of a new feud. And if Styles loses his next feud after his totally unnecessary loss against Chris Jericho, or losing the feud to Chris Jericho, totally unnecessary, losing to Roman Reigns, albeit he was in a great manner. He really looked strong in those matches. Still, he needs a win, a really important win, and John Cena is the guy you can do that with. If you beat John Cena, you definitely have proven yourself. And yeah, they need that because I don't think WWE wants to bury AJ Styles. I think they really want to utilize him because he's another guy. If he's in the match, he isn't in the Money in the Bank ladder match because WWE knows he doesn't need a title to have a match with him in it look important. Same with John Cena, and yeah, those guys are invaluable. You don't have to put a title on them. You don't have to put them in the best written feud. You just can put him in there, have him have a match against another more or less big name, and it works magic, or it will be magic. So he needs to win here, and the match itself, it will be great. I have no doubt about it. On to the Money in the Bank ladder match. Another one that should be great. Well, we all know Money in the Bank ladder matches. They're always spectacular, full of action, and very, very exciting. So this one won't be different. The most interesting thing here are who will win this thing. Alberto Del Rio, no chance in hell, because where would that go? Honestly, I mean, he doesn't need a briefcase and he doesn't need another main event push. I like Alberto Del Rio's work in the ring, but yeah, he isn't the guy that WWE needs right now. And Chris Jericho, well, I've said it in the past, his matches with Dean Ambrose were underwhelming. He is still a good worker. He still knows what to do and how to do it and how to get the crowd riled up. But I think he still doesn't have the passion he once had for the business, and he is a seasoned veteran. He doesn't have to put himself through shit like being thrown into thumbtacks or being thrown off a 20-foot ladder. I really think sooner or later he will leave and just return on occasion like he does now. So giving him the Money in the Bank briefcase would be stupid. I don't know. It wouldn't go anywhere. So we have 4 guys as of now who legitimately could win this thing. First of all, Cesaro. In my opinion, with Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn, the best worker WWE has at the moment. He's incredibly strong. He's incredibly agile. He's a great technician. He knows the little details in the ring and he uses them like few other guys do, and he's just plain awesome. Him winning the Money in the Bank ladder match, it doesn't matter if Reigns or Rollins is champion. With both of them he could have great matches, no doubt about it. Dean Ambrose, another possibility, and he's not as good in the ring as a guy like Cesaro is. Well, that's hard to accomplish that you are as good as Cesaro. But anyway, for him or with him, it would be interesting to see how they play on the Shield story or the Shield backstory, the history between him, Reigns, and Rollins. If he won this thing, he could either go after the champion, the next pay-per-view, or he could go for it right this evening. And let's face it, there are lots of possibilities how they could, really use that. He could go in there if the Money in the Bank ladder match is the opener. He can go in, can come out when the main event is about to start and say, you know what, I want to be a part of this, and cashes in. It is with him. He's the lunatic fringe. With him, of course, he can do that. He is that stupid, and of course, he's not a heel. Most of the time, it's the best choice to go with a heel in a Money in the Bank ladder match, because if you have a face champion, or you can always cash it in to have a face champion, you first have the payoff, like with Daniel Bryan beating John Cena in a great match. Randy Orton comes out, now it's my turn, and of course Bryan didn't stand a chance. And you have the payoff, and then you have a new feud, have a new heel who, with a face like Daniel Bryan at that time, of course, Orton got tons of heat for that. It's always great to do stuff like that, but at the moment, I think with Reigns as champion, a large part of the universe doesn't like him as champion. And if he is champion, of course, the crowd would cheer for a heel who goes after him. With Rollins, at the moment, many people would rather see Rollins as champion and cheer for him. But as soon as he goes against another guy, and Rollins is a good heel, definitely, as soon as he goes against a face, they would boo him. So, it wouldn't make much sense giving the Money in the Bank briefcase to a heel here, because, either he would be face, or with Rollins, he's good enough as a heel that the people would boo him, and there wouldn't be a good opportunity to cash it in. And you can't really wait almost a year to cash the Money in the Bank briefcase in, because during that time it gets rather stale with your character, because you can't compete for the case, but why would you? And there is not much more important, there's nothing more important than the World Heavyweight title. And of course, you don't want to get involved in the match, potentially lose it, and afterwards say, hey, now is my chance to go after the World Heavyweight Champion, cash the briefcase in, and boom, you're still hurt and exhausted from your match before, and wouldn't make that much sense. So, okay, with Ambrose, he doesn't care. So why not a face this time, and why not have Ambrose get involved in the main event? It's a great opportunity for him. Wait a second. Sorry, had to take a short cut here because I was called on my cell. Anyway, I'll keep it short from now on. Kevin Owens, another great opportunity. He's a guy who really can get the crowd riled up against him. Always fun to watch, always a great heel. And with him, he can have a great match against Reigns or Rollins, doesn't matter. And of course, Sami Zayn, the ultimate underdog, who, if he won, either he goes against Roman Reigns, and Reigns can throw him around, and Zayn makes his offense look like gold, because that's what Sami Zayn does best. That's why he's, along with Cesaro and Nakamura, the best guy in WWE right now. You can throw him a punch like this, and he would make it look like gold, and you would believe it. That's how you get a lot of credibility into matches. And either Roman Reigns throws him around, or Seth Rollins uses heel tactics against him. Sami is a likable guy, a very likable guy, and of course, he's the ultimate underdog. And who doesn't like an underdog story? So, in my opinion, four possible winners, all leaving WWE with great options. And honestly, I'm going with Sami Zayn here, because he is a guy who possibly could say, you know what, I want my title shot, I'll use this Money in the Bank ladder match, and come SummerSlam or the next pay-per-view, I want a match against Roman Reigns, respectively Seth Rollins, and give him all I got. He's that kind of guy, so why not? And of course, this Money in the Bank ladder match will be great, no doubt about it. As I have no doubts that the main event will be great, because the crowd doesn't really like Roman Reigns, but he has delivered in his past big matches. So why wouldn't he deliver with Seth Rollins? I mean, come on. Rollins and they both have tons of history, and yeah, both in the ring. Rollins is very capable in the ring, and Roman Reigns has proven that he, with a good opponent, can have a great match. So why wouldn't they here? If Ambrose, for example, got involved, a triple threat match between the 3 former Shield brothers, plain gold. That would really create magic. So I don't know what will happen here. I'm still thinking if this stays one-on-one, Reigns will retain the title. I don't see Rollins winning here. He can really prove that he has deserved this title, which Rollins, of course, says, yeah, you haven't beat me for the title, that's not your title. Reigns can really prove it here, and if he has proven it here, for example, he can turn a little bit more heelish in his ways, a little bit more cocky, arrogant, destructive, and then Sami Zayn comes along, I want my match, and yeah, if Zayn overcomes the odds, that would be perfect, and the fans would love it. So, anyway, I gotta keep it short now. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view, in my opinion, has 4 possibly great matches on the card. And yeah, I don't see much going wrong here. The 4 other filler, mid-card, undercard matches, yeah, well, I don't think they will hurt. And yeah, honestly, the pay-per-view will be good. As I said, I have no doubt about it. There's a lot that needs to go wrong that way. There's a lot that needs to go wrong in order for this to really stink the place up. So, well, come Sunday, we will know more. And yeah, hopefully you'll tune in Monday for the review of Money in the Bank. So long.